You can call him Mr. Vitello or call him Greg, but most just call him Coach, because that's what he is. That's what he was. He is the epitome of what a coach should be. Greg devoted his life to helping, yes, coaching young athletes, helping them become better athletes and better people. After college, where he played baseball and soccer, he joined DeSmet Jesuit High School 1 year after it opened in 1968 as a freshman football coach, assistant track coach, swimming coach, and head soccer coach. And Greg Vitello stayed at DeSmet for almost a half century. In 1980, he also took over DeSmet's baseball program. His teams went to 5 Final Fours and won a state championship. 90 of his players went on to play college baseball. 12 were drafted by major league teams, including Bill Miller, who won an American League batting title with Boston. But Greg is best known for his soccer teams at DeSmet. His Spartans were always a power in soccer-rich St. Louis. His teams won 5 state championships. His programs developed over 250 college-level players, including several All-Americans, pros, and national team players. He was named the 1990 Coach of the Year by the National Soccer Coaches. He is also a member of the prestigious 1-2-3 Club. Greg has been elected to 6 Halls of Fame: DeSmet, Benedictine, Missouri High School Soccer, Missouri High School Baseball Coaches, the St. Louis Amateur Baseball, and St. Louis Soccer Halls of Fame. Tonight, we're honored to add a 7th, the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame. Please welcome the coach, Greg Vitello.
Greg, how are you? Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Speaking of longevity, and I bring this up simply because Greg, Mike Villa told us that 25 years at Vianney with the Brothers of Mary, 46 years at DeSmet with the Jesuits. And the only reason I bring that up is that the Brothers of Mary and the Jesuits do indeed have something in common. They both have the same fundraising motto. Remember, it's not the money, it's the amount.
So true.
You began DeSmet in 1968 until 2014. Is this the only job you ever had?
It is. It really was. And really wasn't a job.
Now, during that time period, Greg, did you ever entertain anything else?
I did. I had a couple opportunities to go on to a small college, but I just felt like I was in the place where I needed to be.
You taught biology, PE, coached soccer, baseball. In short, you saw the overall student experience. Out of all this, what gave you the most satisfaction?
I think seeing young boys grow into men. I think the best part of my job was the teaching part, to watch guys go from, kind of immature individuals to extremely mature young men. That was fun.
5 state championships, 33 district titles. 4 of those state titles were in the 90s. What a great era for you and the school.
Yeah, very much so. But you know what, Bill? I never played a game for DeSmet. I was blessed with a number of individuals that were willing to take a little bit of direction, and some of those guys are here tonight, and willing to sacrifice. We used to have that saying about, well, we're playing for the name on the front of our jersey, not the back of our jersey. That's the attitude that those guys had.
And speaking of that, as a direct follow-up to that, Bill and Matt McEwen, Mike Ambersley, Chris Klein, Pat Noonan, Will Bruin. Will Bruin, by the way, who plays for the Seattle Sounders. They just won the MLS Cup yesterday in front of 69,000 people. What drove these players? What drove these players to reach such a high degree of standards?
Wow. I'd like to say it was a little bit of coaching on my part, but I think just the willingness to be able to give it what you got. I think in all the years that I've coached, and there's probably not a coach in this room that would ask more of an individual than he could possibly give. And those were all individuals that you asked to give maybe a little bit more than the next guy, and they were willing to do that.
And that was soccer. Now on to baseball, where you also won a state title. But let's face it, the real talent in the Vitello family for baseball coaching is your son, Tony. Third year at Tennessee?
Without a doubt, yes, very much so.
And he's having doing a wonderful job down there.
Yeah, he is, and this is going to be the first year he's actually going to play with his players.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We mentioned the soccer players that you coached, but baseball players as well. Billy Miller, Bobby Keppel. Could you see early in their careers that these were indeed different special players?
Yeah, really because of the way they worked. Both of those guys had a work ethic that was second to none. I mean, I remember standing out in the infield with Billy Miller with a 100-ball drill, and I would hit 100 ground balls to Bill. And if Bill missed number 65, we'd start again. And it was like this every single night. And I used to say, Bill, it's getting dark, it's getting cold, I want to go home. But he endured. And Bobby Keppel was the same way, just an extremely hard worker.
Back to your son, Tony. He signed and helped develop Max Scherzer at Mizzou. As a matter of fact, his first recruit was Max Scherzer. Talk about seeing and judging talent early.
Oh, without a doubt. But you know what? Max was easy to see. I think and I've said this before, in the dictionary where you see the word competitor, Max's picture is right next to that word. And anybody could see that. Tony just had to convince him that Missouri was the place for him to go.
And one of the things I wanted to really ask you is that you mentioned to me that Max took a year off, and during that year off, he would occasionally throw batting practice, throw to your DeSmet players.
Yes, he would.
How'd they do?
Oh, it was, well, for the most part, not very well. Usually it was just a small handful of guys because Max didn't want to bring a lot of attention to himself. There was always one guy that had to catch him and never really got to hit. But it was quite an experience, and these guys, they ate it up. It was a neat deal for them.
One of the things we have to ask you before we let you go, your coaching career is so closely aligned with soccer and baseball. Be honest now, do you have a preference?
No, I don't. No, just two really different games, and I was asked this by Frank just the other day. Soccer is a game that a lot of your preparation has to be done actually before you play. Players have to make adjustments while the game goes on, and those adjustments have to come and be talked about at practice. Practice is so invaluable to soccer players. Baseball, I think more than any other time, it's become a real thinking man's game now. It's become very strategic.
Last question before we let you get out of here. I alluded to the fact that Will Bruin, one of your former players, plays for the Seattle Sounders. 69,000 at CenturyLink Field yesterday for MLS Cup. The year prior in Atlanta, 73,000 people. Major League Soccer is finally coming to St. Louis in March of 2022. What will that mean for the overall structure of the soccer community here in St. Louis, Greg?
Well, I think that for years, the soccer player in the United States, they needed someone to look at and see play the game. They had to see someone from their country, not from another country. And those are guys like Will Bruin that they can see, you know what? This guy played in St. Louis. This guy was a college player. This guy's in the MLS. He can do it. I can do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, coaching royalty here in St. Louis, Greg Vitello.
Thank you. And a shout out to the people the great people that came and stood behind me tonight. Thank you so much.